When I am gaming, I can talk to my friends and play with them. I can't do that with books.
Reading books is a really personal thing. The choices that you make are for reasons. It might be a particular author that you really like, might be a theme of books that you really enjoy, and so you go to those, and there is an emotional attachment to books that you read. But you can be reluctant sometimes to share these because other people might have different opinions of those. They might not enjoy the books that you've enjoyed, and you might not feel confident to be able to put that out there because other people might judge you.
It is quite a personal experience. You're putting yourself into a very vulnerable position by sharing your thoughts on a book. You perhaps don't know that other people feel the same about a book that you do, and that can kind of put you in that position where you're unsure as to whether you want to share that with people.
Yeah.
Very personal. A lot of emotions are involved with reading. I've certainly felt that as an adult reader in terms of what I should be reading or what I perceive I should be reading in terms of professional books, when actually what I would really like to do is curl up and read a children's book and just enjoy that whole experience.
We'd shared something in our setting where we displayed Mrs. Atkinson is reading this at the moment, and it's that reluctancy to really put out there what I'm reading at the moment because the other teachers may well ask me about it, and then the children as well. And you've really got to be able to talk about your rationale behind why, and you're putting yourself out there.
We did that as well, and I think it was very interesting what people were putting on in terms of what they were reading. And certainly when I put mine on the door, it was very much as to what was it a suitable book for the children group that I was reading rather than actually the book that I was choosing to read at home.
Teachers, we get asked, what should my child be reading? Yeah. And that's a really difficult question because each child is an individual, and they enjoy different types of books and different themes that you want them to explore, and so there is pressure there as well, isn't there?
I think for me it's about building that ethos and that culture in your classroom where children have that security and that safety to be able to talk honestly and openly about books, and for you to model the fact that, I started this book and I didn't enjoy it, so I'm putting it back and I'm choosing another book. And I think constantly modelling those conversations with children, with other adults, so that they can hear that book talk happening, and they can hear those, I'm enjoying this, I'm not enjoying this, I'm going to carry on with this a bit longer, but then I might not. I think for me it's about building that environment where children can feel safe and secure to talk about honestly and openly how they're enjoying a book or not.
They can own those feelings and the enjoyment that they had for that book, and we respect that of each other, and it's okay that you really liked it and you didn't like it, because your interests are different. So I agree, that's really important.
Practical suggestions in terms of building that ethos and that environment for children. Very much about being a role model in terms of when the children are reading for pleasure, for the adult to be also reading for pleasure as well, so that they can see the teacher reading a book that they've chosen to do. About having a scrapbook for the children to put in their recommendations. I know that we share those recommendations in assembly, so that children are hearing a variety of books that are recommended, from graphic novels to non-fiction books to fiction books. It's about talking about reading.
Reading's got to be at the heart of everything that you do, and thinking about the strategies and how you promote that. Having time allotted every single day for simply reading for pleasure. No strategies to sneak in the teaching of reading. Honour the reading for pleasure time.
Secure time where you're with your children and you are sharing a really valuable experience of sharing a book that's in common, and valuing that time together, which is really very powerful. As an adult, if we're not enjoying a book, we just put it back and choose another one. Whereas I don't feel that children necessarily have got that confidence to be able to make it known, actually, I don't enjoy it, can I swap it and pick another book? I think there's this sort of expectation that once you start a book, you have to finish it, regardless of whether you enjoy it or want to enjoy reading it.
We've had a strategy at school. We've got a TV of rolling images of children, and a recommendation they've made about a book. But actually it's also getting them on there to show, I didn't enjoy this book because, and so what we're almost modelling to the children, and I think that is our job as reading teachers, is to model, I like this because, or I didn't like this because. That enables them to really see the choices there.
Something I think is really important to model to the children is that when you're not enjoying a book, that you're very open and honest about that, and you share that with the children. I'm not enjoying this book because, and almost modelling putting that book back and choosing another book, so that the children know that that's okay not to like a book and not to enjoy a book, and that that's what we do as adults, and therefore as children they should be having exactly the same opportunities to do that. Yeah. I think it's about making sure that you have got a variety of texts that's constantly evolving in terms of that the children can access, either that being in the library or being in the classroom, so that if they have got graphic novels that they thoroughly enjoy but you haven't, that they're involved in that process of being able to order them and get them into school so that they are able to enjoy their reading experiences.
Bringing in different types of magazines, some non-fiction, some fiction, and different types of books. We've had children who've really enjoyed reading cookbooks and exploring those and recipes, and which is great because it's really sparking an interest. So it's making sure that what we are providing is really broad and enables them to tap in so many different interests and themes that they can then draw opinions from there, and allow the children to be able to do things like book brags. They can talk to each other, share their experiences, what they liked, what they didn't like. You could do that as a teacher, to be able to say, I've read this book, I really liked it, or I didn't actually enjoy it this time, but you might want to try it and give it a go. Allow the children just to informally talk about books and share their experiences.
I think it's really important that that's embedded and becomes part of the natural classroom environment, that the children make those recommendations but they are listened to, that those become part of the heart of the classroom, that it's not just sort of a ticking the box exercise in terms of, yes, we've done recommended reads. It's about, okay, you recommended that read, didn't enjoy it, but they did enjoy that, so, oh, well, you try this book instead. So there's that sort of two-way process, that it's not just sort of happening because you want it to happen. You're happening because there's a reason behind it that is actually going to help and support children make their reading choices. There's lots of different elements to getting parents involved that is a challenge.
We often have parents ask us, what should my child be reading? I'm going to get them some books. They need to read more. What should they be reading? And that's a really difficult question to answer, because you don't want them to read, you should be reading these books in this year group and these books here. Actually, it's about the child having that choice. So we need to develop the culture with our families as well. So inviting them into school, doing workshops with them and teaching them about how to get to know their child as a reader, and not being surrounded by, you should be reading this and you should be reading that because this is your age. And so showing them how we do that in school, and just sitting together and enjoying a book and sharing a bit, read to them, let them read to you, take it in turns, and showing that just enjoyment for book. And it hasn't got to be about reading the words correctly, but just honouring that time together and that 5 minutes, which can be a real challenge for sometimes. Working families are so busy, but we want to model the impact and the power that reading can have, in particular reading for pleasure.
I guess the challenging part maybe is trying to involve parents in those discussions to see what they're reading as adults, in order to sort of mirror what we're doing with our children and what we do as our staff. So I guess that is a challenge to talk to them, to say it's okay to talk about books, it's okay to share what you're reading and what you like and what you don't like.
My child needs to read more. I want to help them read more. So you need to read more together as a family, and that's got to be your approach. We're all going to sit down and have 5 minutes. We're going to read a book together. We're going to read on our own, and adopting that, parents and families are modelling that to the children as well, will be really powerful.